And then there are so many things to gain. You could also gain networking. You could have people connect with you, endorse your skills on LinkedIn. I love new beginnings. I love new adventures. They do something beautiful to us. So thank you, everyone. Like we did when we were welcoming our founder, I want us to put our best emojis into the comment section, both on YouTube and Zoom, as we welcome our keynote speaker for this kickoff ceremony. She's a woman like myself and you, a power woman, a creator. She's blazing the trail. And because that is in our gene, you are also one, or you're becoming one, right? So let's celebrate her with our favorite emojis as we welcome Madona Wambua. She's going to introduce herself and she's going to speak to us. I believe you're going to be inspired. You'll be pumped up. Thank you for welcoming her with me. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Lara. Thank you so much, Madona. I'll quickly read through Madona's citation. Okay. I'll quickly read through Madona's citation. So Madona is the founder of Jibu Labs. She's also the Chief Technical Officer. She is an author. She's the keynote speaker and a Google developer expert for Android with over a decade of experience building Android applications. If you use an Android device, you know what Android applications are, and you know that they help us every day to actually carry out tasks that improve or make our lives more easy, right? Madona is also a women tech maker ambassador. If you're a woman tech maker ambassador, or if you're a member of the women tech makers community, please give a shout out to her. Anita B, co-chair. She's a host of Tech Talks with Madona and a developer who enjoys sharing her Android knowledge and teaching others how to make Android application. Madona is the author of an Android cookbook. So if you're someone who is looking to be a programmer and develop Android apps, you should be checking out Madona's book. I will be sharing the link here later and also in the Telegram chat. So thank you so much, Madona Wambua, for joining us today. It's an honor to have you come deliver a keynote address here today. Please, the stage is yours now.
Thank you very much, Agama, for introducing me. And I just want to say something that I noticed. If you're able to open your camera, don't feel the pressure, but you're welcome to do that, because I like for it to be more intimate and conversational. And apart from that, there's something that I noticed you mentioned that really resonated with me a lot. But before I start that, I just want to say thank you again for inviting me. And I'm super excited to be speaking at this event today. And I'm hoping each one of you today will get something to go with. And also as you do the bootcamp and also as you build on your career, you'll be able to understand the strength of the community. Because I think there's one thing that we all might forget, that it's okay to be an individual person, like it's okay to be an individualist, but having a community around you makes things much easier. Now, I'm going to quote you, Agma, on something you said, which is, I was looking for a community and did not find one, so I created one. I wrote that down. The reason is why I wrote that down is because it resonated with me. So when I started my career back in 2011 when I was a junior Java developer, just building infrastructure systems. And one thing that many of us here don't know is that when you work in a foreign country, it's pretty different. Number one, in many technical fields that I've been in, I've been the only woman most of the time, and I've been the only Black woman. So that meant a lot. That meant, number one, I wasn't able to feel like I was progressing in any way. I also like the fact that you mentioned that, Agama, the progressing. I wasn't able to feel like I was progressing. And number two, I really worked I'm not going to say any bad words, but I really worked way off everything. I would work on Saturdays because I was trying to make sure that I was understanding and delivering what was expected of me. The thing that I noticed though with the culture here is that the culture in America, which I think is a culture that I've not worked in, let's say in Africa, in a software engineering career, but what I can say is that the culture is very different here in America, where if you're working and you have, let's say, a senior engineer, the senior engineer, and this is what I came to believe, that the senior engineers, they're good, they understand what they're doing, but it's very hard for people to like, and I feel like this also is ingrained in the culture of the company, where people are welcoming to help each other or work with each other, because it's more capitalist, where everybody's doing their work fast, fast, fast. You get done, next is next thing. And then something else that I noticed also was the feeling of competition, right? Everybody is working towards something, right? Which is fair. I mean, all of us here, you're in the bootcamp to learn something, and once you learn it, you want to do it to be good, and after being good, you want to get promoted. After getting promoted, you want to be somewhere else. So to me, that really was okay, because I realized that that's how it is. Now I can now talk about my journey. So when I started as a Java developer and I was building inventory systems, I really struggled a lot. I did not have any work-life balance. And right now I have a lot of mentees. And one thing that I do tell them is that don't make that mistake. It's okay to be in this field. First of all, don't quit this field. No. I'm very happy that all of you are already in this community. So stick to this community. The people that you see here, share your LinkedIn on the chat, connect with each other. That is your community. Now, if you're studying something together, like let's say digital marketing, or let's say Python, find a group, work together, see how you can help each other progress. Because when I was doing my Java development, something that I noticed that I lacked was that I did not have any community. I didn't know where to find the communities. And I didn't even know that there were communities that existed until, for myself, I didn't create one back in the days. I did not create one. And this is, let's say, 5 years in my career. I did not create any community. So what I decided to do was find event near me that I can attend. And then I found Women Who Code. And once I found Women Who Code, I realized that, wow, so there are other women that are actually doing this, this is going to help me stop drowning. Something that I like to mention a lot also during my journey is that when I started developing, like when I started joining the community, something changed in me. I noticed that my mental health started getting better. And this is because I would listen to other women talk about their fears. For instance, I'm not telling you the community is going to give you the solution now, but there's a lot of things that you can gain. Number one, the sense of belonging. And a sense of belonging was I could see other women struggling like I was struggling, and we could speak about our situation. We had like a safe space where we would talk about the misogyny or things that we experience at work, where, for instance, for people to get promoted, it's pretty tough. And I'm going to talk about that too in a few minutes. But I noticed that it was not only me, it was other people that are experiencing that. And then when now you add you being a Black person also in the tech industry, where we don't see so many of us, especially in Android. Now I'm a speaker. I've spoken to over 30 events, and every event that I go to, unless I've invited the women to come be in my talk, it's just me always, and many men, which I have no problem with that, because I appreciate when people come to listen to my talk. But I would like to see that change over the years, because think about it. We are building something that's pretty cool, but if we stay intimidated, we will not be successful. So that's why I'm very happy when I see small groups, and that's why I always come to support. Every time I see a community that's building itself and also building others, I'm always number one to say, yes, call me in. Now let's talk about my fears when I was working as an individualist, and also what really made me feel like I was drowning in my career. Number one, every time I would go to work, fearing that I would get fired the next day. Why? Because first of all, you don't have anybody cheerleading for you at work. Everybody is busy work, right? Number two, I would ask questions. Remember, I know all of us here have had the thing of ask questions, especially as a junior engineer, you're always told and encouraged, ask questions, which I think right now that I'm in a different space, I think that's an okay thing. It's just a bad culture where some companies, not the companies, but people that work there. And I'm just going to pause a little bit here and walk you through something. When you apply for a job in a company, right, you don't know the people you'll work with. The company might brand itself as, our culture is great, we have great people. But until you work with them, you don't know who you're going to be working with. So you might get in, and once you get in, you're like, oh, wow, hold on. People are not allowed to ask questions. I talk about this experience because it really broke my heart. Because when I was working, I thought as a junior developer, I was allowed to ask questions. And this is during my early career. I would ask questions like, hey, how do you do this in here? How do you do this here? But my first year, because here in America, we have a review system where you have a mid-year review and then an annual review. So, but during my review, guess what I got? She asks a lot of questions. That really crushed my heart. Like, I thought as somebody who wants to learn, it's okay for me to ask questions. And now I started pulling back. I shied away from asking questions. But what did I do? So that's when I realized I think they're trying to push me out of this particular thing. Because I mean, it's okay, I'm learning by myself, but there's so many things to consume. I mean, Stack Overflow is not going to show you the solution. No. Sometimes you might need to work with a senior engineer to understand how you can build a particular section. So me asking those questions was pretty vital because I wanted to understand how do these things work together? How can I connect these two dots? But that was not something that was given to me. Now, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm not discouraging you all. I'm just showing you my vulnerability as being somebody that worked as an individualist as compared to when I found a community. Now, when I found a community, what changed? There's a few things that's changed. First of all, I was able to speak to other women and ask them, wow, at your work, are you able to ask questions? I mean, some people told me, yeah. And then I realized, oh, it's actually a culture thing. And then others were like, yeah, Madonna, I do not ask any questions because I don't want to be perceived as someone that doesn't know what they're doing already. Because already, like Agama mentioned, we are already expected to work twice. Now, imagine when you're in America, you're expected to work, I think, 10 times because you're like, first of all, there's that notion that maybe you don't know what you're doing. And like you're the diversity quarter, like you're hired because you're Black, which is things that really demotivates. But I think being in a, let's say, situation in Nigeria, it might be different things. For instance, it might be men looking down upon women. So women, we face so many things, and especially as moms, because moms, we have the responsibility of raising our kids too. So add raising kids and working as an engineer. Engineering is not hard, but I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. And I did this. That looks like 4. I have 2 kids. So I'm a mom and I have 2 kids. So can you imagine working as an engineer and also trying to make sure that I balance my life as a mom, as a wife, and also delivering on the work that's needed of me? If you don't have a good manager that cheerleads for you, it's going to be a total mess, because sometimes you'll have the times when you need to take your kids to the hospital. Sometimes you'll need to take time off to just watch over your kids. So having the community to me really helped, because I realized that speaking to other moms, I started noticing that it's a trend. Oh, it's not just me. Okay. So you go through the same, because I spoke to a woman and she was white. She's a very good friend of mine. And I'm not bringing color in this situation, but I just spoke to her and she told me, Madonna, I'm afraid of getting fired too every other day. I was like, oh, wow. I thought you felt more safer than I did, because my biggest fear was tomorrow I'll not have a job. And yet I was delivering, like I was doing on Saturdays, I would be there working. But once I found my community, I would go now to the community. The questions I was asking at work, I stopped asking. I stopped asking people questions. I was like, okay, so now that I have a community, let me see what this community can help me with. I started looking into, so I'm trying to solve this particular problem in this particular code base. Can I phrase the question such that I can ask similarly, but not pinpointing the code base of my job? Like, let's say, for instance, I'm trying to solve something in Android. I would go and ask my community, like, hey, by the way, how do you solve A, B, C, D in Android? And then people would answer like, actually, I normally use ABCD, like let's say room, or I would populate this other, and then they would give me resources. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then I realized that really helped me do my job better. And I would speak to other people in my community that already knew what they were doing. And then I stopped having those kind of reviews where she asks questions. So the moral of the story is that I know it's going to be pretty tough when you're by yourself, but when you have the community, you can leverage so much. Number one, you can leverage the community for support, for mental health, for also unionship. By unionship, I mean having people that cheerlead for you. Because when I went and wrote my my first book, guess who really motivated me and also cheerleaded for me? The same community. They were there telling me, Madonna, you've been doing Android for a couple of years. I think you can write a book. And I was like, oh, I don't believe in myself. Technical writing is not my thing. But they were like, what do you mean technical writing is not your thing? You're giving talks everywhere. So that really motivated me. So communities can really motivate you. Number 4, you should be able to lean on your community when you need support in so many things. For instance, you're looking for a job. Guess the fast. Right now, submitting resumes is okay. But right now, let's say you're finished with the bootcamp. How do you find your job? Long before, yeah, you would submit your resume and then people would review. But right now, I feel like this automation where maybe even resumes might be skimmed through, but through the community, you can ask the people around you, like, hey, actually, is your company hiring? Because from time to time, you'll find people in your community that are already working. You would ask them, hey, is your company hiring? Are you hiring for this position? Can you refer me? So that really works pretty well too. Because for me, the fear also of getting fired, tying back my story to the beginning, was that I did not have that community, people that I could reach out to when I needed that safety, that safety of feeling like, wow, who do I know when I need to look for another job? Do I just submit my resume everywhere? And then, because when I went to my next job after I quit my job, because I was like, this is pretty toxic to me, and then I got another job, guess how I got the other job? It was through a community member that told me, hey, Madonna, we're always hiring. Let me know when you're looking for a job. I was like, oh, really? It's like, yeah. And then I gave him a resume, and then pretty easily it was like, oh, I can refer you. Here you go. And then I got the interview, and then boom. I did not even submit resume. I mean, I have nothing wrong with people submitting. I've read over Twitter and over LinkedIn how people submit more than 500 resumes. I feel like, to me, the only thing I would mention to that is that don't do that anymore. Form a network. That network is yours. It's the same way. I was doing a panel the other day with the Kimberly Brand, and she mentioned something very important, which I think it's a quote that's known. Your network is your net worth. So having a network that can connect you with jobs, not only jobs, so many things, is very helpful. So communities offer that too. Again, learning together. Let's say here, you're listening to my talk and you're wondering, how can it help me? And how can I find one? Start here. You have the bootcamp. And in terms of helping, especially in your career, let's say you want to build in open source. How can you get started in open source? The same community members that you have in this particular session today, if you wanted to build a project in Python, connect together. Tell each other, hey, can we actually create an open source project in Python and then start building something? And then we can include other contributors. And before you know it, you have an open source project that has maintainers and people contributing into it. So to close this is my main purpose of being here and speaking to you all is, which I really appreciate what Agma said, because it really resonated with me a lot. I was like, oh, Agma, you're picking out my speaking points, which is pretty cool. Again, she said, and I'll repeat, I was looking for a community and did not find one. So I created one. I know it might be challenging for all of us to go create new communities, but I feel like myself, I never created one, but I found one through Women in Code. Now, when I continued my career, now I have over 13 years of experience in Android. I ended up creating my community in Android. So in Android, what I did is that I actually went and created a space on Twitter. And then I would, the same way actually Agma did with Twitter, mine, I created a space. So what I did with the spaces was I would invite people to come speak in my spaces. And then before we know it, now we have over 5,000 people in Android that are in my network, like connected in my community. So I think, and mine, we don't do a lot. We just connect, talk, help each other find jobs, and just share, like just give talks and just talk about what Android is about, what we're building. And if anybody is interested in Android too, please, I'll link down my LinkedIn there. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me. But other than that, I felt like it really helped me a lot. So I was draining. I was this point of draining and feeling like I wasn't in it, and I really wanted to quit, because that is something that I really wanted to do. Like, I was like, oh my goodness. And now I understand. And Agma also mentioned this in the beginning, how women quit tech, because it's not easy. Think about it. I almost quit, but I was like, if I quit, who are they going to see? Who is the future generation going to see, right? So I decided to stay. I am still an engineer. I code every day, like code a couple of hours. Something that I also like to not lie to myself is that I don't code the entire day. No, that's lying. I only take 4 hours of good time, write some good code, and then I'm done for the day. I do not do anything more than that, because it's again to lie to myself saying I can code the entire day. So to close this up, I just want to encourage you all, if you've not connected with the people that are already here, make sure you connect. If you're also, and I know it's okay, I know others say, I'm an introvert. I don't feel okay talking to other people. I don't feel well connected with other people. You don't have to do a lot. Showing up is being part of a community. You showed up today. You showed up and signed up for this bootcamp, right? That is part of being in a community, because this cohort, you will stay connected as a cohort forever. You'll be like the cohort of digital, bootcamp. And I love the fact that this is also for moms. For moms out there, I know it's not easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was not easy for me. I know, especially during the pandemic. I like to mention this because during the pandemic, nobody prepared me for what was coming. That is number one. You have to homeschool your kids. That meant teaching your kids how to study from home. And then I had to work. So you're expected to deliver in two places and also be a wife, because you have to cook, do all the other things. And especially, when you come from an African household. I am originally from Kenya, but I migrated here for study. But when you have to be there supporting your family in all aspects, it can be pretty tough. But having that community to lean on to helps a lot. Because to me, when I started connecting with my women in code, and then we would talk about how everybody is feeling like, hi, you're a mom, how are you doing it? I'll tell them, I'm not doing it. I'm barely not holding on, but I'm trying to hold on. And they'll be like, me too. And I'll be like, okay, I'm not alone. Yeah. So at the end of the day, let's connect. Let's stay in touch and ensure that you are always there to support each other and uplift each other. That's it. I'll take any questions. Are we taking any questions? Okay.
That's okay. Thank you so much for that beautiful speech. We are inspired, encouraged. I love it because whether you are a beginner, maybe you even registered for this, you don't know why, you just saw it because I've been there. You see something online and you just register, right? By this speech, I know you are receiving confirmations that you are in the right place. Maybe you never had a vision for registering. I know you are having a vision now. You can see what could become. You could become an author. You could have a community of over 5,000 people. So thank you. I love the fact that regardless of where you are in your journey as a tech mom, as a tech woman, as a tech career person, there's something for you to grab from it. And most importantly, don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. So like she's ready to take questions and answers. If you have any question for her, I want you to use the reaction button and we're going to call you, or you can drop it if you don't want to talk. You can drop it in the comment section and we're going to read the question out and she's going to respond to your question. Thank you, YouTube people. You can put your question in the comment section so I can see you. Kadif Prila, thank you for that comment. Chikandili, thank you. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that very well, but just let you know I can see your comments over there as well, and we appreciate you. So do we have questions for her? Let's take it quickly. Let's make the most of this opportunity we have. We have a best-selling author in our midst, in our community. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, Madona, have you shared the link to the book?
Oh yeah, let me share that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think to me, something else that I feel like I've not mentioned also that is very important is I also became an expert just through the community, because so when you become an expert, what that means is that Google believes that you understand what you're talking about and you are qualified to represent their product, which is pretty big. Android is used by over 3.6 billion users around the world. So imagine Google saying that this person is an expert of our product. So what Google does for me is that, as an expert, is that they pay for my flight everywhere I go, and they pay for my hotel. So everywhere you see me traveling or posting on LinkedIn like I'm traveling, I don't pay anything from my pocket. It's all Google paid, which is unbelievable. But can you hire me, or can you give me an internship in this? So there are a couple of ways you can approach this if you're not experienced. Number one, the community. Try to understand what they're learning just to grow your knowledge. Number two, getting certifications. I feel like it's not a bad thing, but if you're already way into your career, you don't have to stress too much about it. Just build a project that you can showcase and also get prepared. There's something that I like to say, don't take it for granted. It's okay, we can speak, but action speaks louder than words. So be prepared. When you're called to an interview, how do you stand out? If they ask you a question, and you have to be direct, like, yes, I know what I'm talking about. So being prepared, let's say in an interview, perspective is very important. And then lastly, again, create your own project and bring in the community to help you build it. And then there you go. You have something to showcase that, hey, I'm actually maintaining this project here, and look at all the people we're working together with. And this is how I am doing good in this field. It can really help you get a job.
Yeah, thank you. That's so powerful. And that leads to the next question, right? We have a Zoom user here. I don't know if that's somebody's name. It says Zoom user is asking, how do you build projects? I think you started talking about it already, pulling people together, but this person wants to know more about how do you build projects?
Yes. Hello, Zoom user. I'm just going to do that because it's funny. Hello, Zoom user. Okay. So how do you build projects? Now, let's take an hypothetical situation. So I'm going to assume I'm building another project here. So number one, few things that you need to know is that a project can be hosted in so many places. A project can be hosted, and the only place I think that you can host it where other people can see is GitHub. If you've never heard of GitHub, go look it up. It's pretty cool. And it's a developer's site. And that's where we build our own portfolios as developers. In fact, I'm going to share mine for anybody that wants to look into an example of how GitHub looks like. So as I'm pausing here, I'm grabbing my GitHub account. And then